challenges in Somalia are quite daunting when you think about it. When you think of challenges in Somalia, you think of the unspeakable suffering of Somali people because of poverty, because of humanitarian crisis, because brought about by natural disasters. You think about conflict, you think about insecurity, you think about corruption, you think about all kinds of problems that really make Somalia a very complex place in which to work and operate.
SSF is unique, and I think it was very much a product of the London 2012 conferences, where the British Prime Minister and the then President of Somalia really came together in a big conference with other donors in the room as well. And one of the big commitments was a very, very strong British push to help Somalia genuinely stabilize.
At the time when SSF was first established, there were not a lot of other programs doing similar work. You had a number of organizations that were doing some very important work on the humanitarian aid side of things. There were some programs that were emerging that were more focused on longer-term government capacity building. But the Somali Stability Fund was really meant to do business differently, to try to work in Somalia in a way that really engendered a strong sense of Somali ownership at every phase of the design and delivery of the work.
SSF's biggest achievement so far, I believe, is the support to the formation of the federal member states in Somalia. About 10 years ago, or a little bit more than that, many people forget that the existence of this existing federal structures was not there. SSF's support to that is by far the biggest impact we have had, I believe.
I think the Somali Stability Fund still found a way to make sure that everything we did was genuinely led by Somali people.
I think SSF has been one of the first programs in Somalia to respond to the breadth and scale of state building, peace building, governance and security challenges.
SSF has made a number of really impressive achievements. I'm sure if you interviewed a number of the first state presidents in the then interim states, I think they're all permanent now, they would say basic infrastructure and basic support for the simple most systems to operate a state. And I've heard them say that many times, and much as I don't necessarily count that as core stability, I do think it's a very important part of the license to operate. The Galkayo peace process is to me one of the real strong examples. It's by far it's not a big spending area of SSF, but it shows the legitimacy and the capability and credibility maybe of the SSF team to really engage and address a quite heavy or big area that gave a big peace dividend, so to speak. Beyond that, and I mean I could go into a very large number of lower level achievements which collectively I think has added up to a lot of people having a safer and better environment to have their livelihoods in. One of my taglines for a long time was, there's no area where SSF has worked on reconciliation and peace dividend work that has fallen back to Al-Shabaab.
I think its legacy will be its ability to have worked in some of the most hard to reach areas and reach some of the communities, most hard to reach communities across the board. I think the huge investment in learning, monitoring and evaluation is a huge asset to the wider international communities and Somalia government's work in the country. And I think the huge amount of learning and evidence it's generated will continue to inform investments and projects and policy in Somalia for years to come. One of the key strengths of SSF is the fact that it has a strong presence on the ground in Somalia. This has really allowed the different teams across the different geographical locations to build really effective relationships with different levels of government, including at the state level, but also the district and the community level. I think these relationships have really allowed us access to be able to deliver tangible, concrete investments on the ground. And it's really helped to build trust between the different stakeholders that SSF is working with.
I think one of the good things about this program is the ability to flex and adapt. The running of this program is based on conflict analysis that was done at the start of the program and on an ongoing basis. And this conflict analysis informs the implementation, the design and implementation of the program.
So I think this is really critical, and one of the biggest strengths that SSF has is its ability to navigate the fragility and the context on the ground. I think one of the key ways that it's been able to do this is really by staying on top of the political and security dynamics across Somalia. I think it's used excellent research along with political analysts who have really informed the fund's work in this area.
The way we deal with failure is, first of all, a key aspect of it is to not increase communal conflicts and another thing. Do no harm principle is a key aspect of SSF. And so for us, that is where we begin to say, whatever we do, if we find that a certain aspect of our work is not progressing well, and we feel like it could become a failure, to consider the impact it would have on the communities we serve. So that's one. But more importantly, we do a lot of understanding what's going on the ground, and there's been a project, risk management of the way we implement something is a key aspect at the beginning of a project to anticipate as much as possible. But we don't shy away from saying something can no longer continue if we feel that it's no longer likely to be a success.
I think you can look on many things, but one of the things that one needs to consider when measuring the success of any intervention in fragile context is fairness in power sharing, power structure. The power structure in that fragile kind of context should be fair. The communities, all the communities should feel that they are, part and they are represented.
So across SSF 1 and 2, the total funding was actually $220 million. And that in itself is a huge achievement, bringing together support from several donors.
Another thing that the SSF has done really, really well is leverage community contributions to a number of the investments that it's made. And this is really important to ensure sustainability in the long run, but to really also make sure that the community owns and drives the projects.
A great example of how this actually played out in Somalia is in the case of Adado, where the Stability Fund was implementing the Wadajir framework with a local partner named CPD. And leading up to this, the women of Adado were lobbying very heavily for the community priority for Adado being expansion of their existing hospital. And there were other groups who said, actually it might be better to expand the district administration office. But the women successfully lobbied. Not only did they lobby to have their priority identified not just identified but prioritized by the entire community, because that's the priority that got the most votes, but they were also able to do a lot of community resource mobilization to match the SSF investment. So it's not just delivering on community priorities, but also getting people to have a sense of genuine ownership, because this is their money, their priority, their investment, and SSF just helped facilitate these processes.